Okay, good.
Okay. So we'll carry on with the X-ray class. So first of all, what do we look at in an X-ray? We should understand that an X-ray doesn't give a clinical diagnosis by itself. An X-ray should always be associated with the clinical symptoms, and we should have a systematic approach in approaching an X-ray. So, for a normal chest X-ray, the first thing we should look at it in an X-ray will be labeling of the patient and side identification. Because if we are not able to find out the side identification, then we might miss a dextrocardia or the side which we want to find the we would like or have to find the thing. So we go about a systematic approach, that is the RIP approach. Initially, we see the rotation, inspiration, and expiration, penetration or exposure. So, so normally we usually see the PA view of the that is the postero-anterior view, where the cassette is placed in front of the patient and the X-ray beam comes from behind. So this is a normal view, and the X-ray is taken in full inspiration. In AP view, the problem is we will have a cardiomegaly, apparent cardiomegaly, but AP view is the most commonly done X-rays in the ICUs when the patient is supine. So there may be increased vascular markings in the upper lobe, and there may be cardiomegaly, which may be misinterpreted as pulmonary edema. So normal view will always be a PO view, and this will be the rotation. So the next point to look at it in an X-ray will be a rotated film or a non-rotated film. So in the second picture, there is no side identification, but you can see that this X-ray looks like a dextrocardia. So that is why side identification is very important in any X-ray. And look at the rotation, you must look at the medial end of the clavicles. They must be equidistant from the midline. We take the midline and we calculate the medial end to the midline of both the clavicles, and if they're equidistant, they are non-rotated films. So the next one to look at it will be the inspiratory picture or the expiratory picture. So in an inspiratory picture, the anterior end of at least 5 to 7 ribs should be cutting the diaphragm at the mid clavicular point. So less than 5 ribs indicates uh, decreased inspiration, and more than 7 ribs indicates hyperexpansion or expiratory film. An expiratory film is very obvious when we have an obstructed a foreign body obstructing a bronchus or the main bronchus, where we can have an expiratory limb or due to the ball valve mechanism. So next is the exposure. So exposure, the X-ray film should be adequately exposed so that we can see the lower 3 vertebra faintly across the heart shadows. And if we have an overexposed or an underexposed film, in an overexposed film, we may be missing the bronchovascular markings, and in an underpenetrated film, the heart shadow might look very white, and it may be missed with a quiet consolidation. So this is the common order which we go about in an X-ray, where we see the airway, bones, cardiac shadow, diaphragm, edges, lung fields, gastric bubble, hilum, and other insertions to prevent missing any of the things. So, first to look at the airway, we trace the trachea in the midline, and this is a carina, and then we have the right main bronchus and the left main bronchus. This should be traceable in a normal X-ray. So next, coming on to the bones. So this will be the picture. We have tried labeling it. So we see all the vertebra till T12 faintly. We should be able to see the lower 3 vertebra faintly across the cardiac shadow, and in an AP view, we will be able to see the anterior ribs. So we should be able to count the ribs, anterior ribs, and the posterior ribs. So posterior ribs are seen better in the AP view because the cassette is very near to the posterior ribs when the X-ray beam comes from front. So next will be the cardiac shadow. So in cardiac shadow, we should be able to note 3 points more. First one will be the cardiothoracic ratio. So cardiothoracic ratio, so to measure the cardiothoracic ratio, we should draw a perpendicular vertical line in the midline from the trachea, and we should take the, we should draw two parallel lines on both the sides, two parallel vertical lines to have the maximum convergence on the lateral sides and measure the cardiothoracic angle. And the ratio of the cardiac angle to the thoracic diameter should be less than 0.5 to tell that there is no cardiomegaly. So this is the first point to look at it in the cardiac shadow and the borders of the heart. The left heart border of is by the aortic arch, the main pulmonary artery, and the left atrial appendage and the left ventricle. And the right heart border constituted by the superior vena cava, right atrium, and a small part of IVC. Remember that right ventricle doesn't constitute the right border of the heart because it is the most anterior structure. You will be able to see the right ventricle here. So the right heart border is formed by the left atrial appendage and the left ventricle, and the right heart border is fully formed by the right atrium only. The right ventricle will be the most anterior structure in the heart shadow, and the left atrium will be the most posterior structure in the heart shadow. And because of all these things, a left atrial enlargement will be seen as a double contour appearance. That is it will be seen as a double shadow. So now coming on to the diaphragm, the right hemidiaphragm is slightly higher than the left because of the liver shadow, and we must be able to see the cardiophrenic and the costophrenic angles. The angle should be very sharp and should be devoid of any opacities. So you can see the stomach bubble. This I have marked it, and there should be a stomach bubble visible because of the air fluid level. And so this is the costophrenic angle, this is the cardiophrenic angle, and the lung fields. So the lung fields should always be compared on both the sides, because if there is a opacity, it should always be compared with the opposite side to know about what is the nature of the opacity, whether it is fluid or a mass, and all those things. So lung vascularity should be traced to the peripheries, and in a frontal X-ray, that is the AP or the PA view, the minor fissure may be faintly visible. In a lateral X-ray, the major fissure may be visible. So this is important because in cases of consolidation, the fissure limits the spread of the consolidation to the other lobe. And if we can see the fissure, then we will know which lobe is involved and which lobe is deceased. These are the patterns of opacities in the lungs. This consolidation. This is the consolidation. This is the air bronchogram pattern, and a mass will be seen like this, a nodule will be seen like this, and atelectasis will be uniform opacities. And this is the interstitial edema, interstitial opacities. So these are the hidden areas in the X-rays. This must always be looked for in cases of X-ray reporting to prevent any missing of any pathologies. That the apical zones, the hilar zones, that's the retrocardiac zone and zone below the dome of the diaphragms. Next is the hilum. So what is a hilum? Hilum is a part of the lung which is constituted by the root of every lung, each lung, both the lungs, and the hilar point may be visible in most of the normal X-rays, which is formed by the upper and the lower pulmonary vessels. The right hilar point is usually lower than the left hilar point, and enlargement of the hilum is usually because of lymphadenopathy or enlarged mediastinum. So insertions, we usually see insertions in the ICU patients. Here we see the nasogastric tube, and in this we can see the left IJV, and these two pictures. Here we see the endotracheal tube, the carina, and we can see the ECG points. These ECG points lie outside the body. So we can see it as an ECG electrode, and this is the NG tube. And here we can see the, so This is the permanent pacemaker. I'm sorry. This is the pacemaker, and we can trace the edge of the pacemaker to the left ventricle. So these are the insertions which should be looked up in an ICU patient. So there's something called sill-out sign. So the normal sill-out or the cardiac shadow will be very sharp and crisp. So in case if there is any consolidation of the nearby zone of the lung, then the lung usually contains air and the cardiac contains fluid. So there will be merging of both the shadows. The densities of both the things will merge and we will have a loss of sill out. And this can be seen in the X-rays and appreciated in consolidation or collapse when there is merging of both the densities. So a normal X-ray, this is a tracing. This is a trachea and bronchus, main bronchus. Right main bronchus and left main bronchus. The right 1/3 of the heart will lie to the right of the heart, and left 1/3 will occupy 2/3 of the heart. And this is a minor fissure, and this is a major fissure. Major fissure will not be seen in the frontal X-ray. And this is the costophrenic angle, and this is the cardiophrenic angle. So SVC, IVC. So now we go on to the things. So can somebody put up or understand what is this? So this is a right upper lobe consolidation. We have this is limited by the fissure, and there is merging of the right heart border. So this is the lobar consolidation. So you can see the air bronchogram pattern. So the air bronchogram pattern is a extension of the sill-out sign, where there will be fluid in the alveoli and it will be lined by the air in the bronchi. So here there is no shift of mediastinum also. So this is another picture of a lower lobe consolidation, where there is a merging of right heart border and the right lower lobe. So this is the loss of sill-out sign, which can be appreciated. So this is a CT picture where we can clearly appreciate the air bronchogram pattern. This is a fluid-filled alveoli and a air-lined bronchi. So next picture will be. So here there is a pleural effusion. So the left lower lobe is uniformly white, and you don't see any bronchovascular markings in the left lower zone. And there will be a meniscus sign. Meniscus sign is when the fluid forms a meniscus over the fluid. So actually in the meniscus sign, or the there's something called S sign, S-shaped curve, where there will be a meniscus, or the level of fluid will be at a higher level in the pleura, near the pleura, than at the mediastinum, because the negative intrapleural pressure, because of that, there will be a higher level of fluid in near the pleura. And so here we can see the pneumothorax. So this is the left pneumothorax, and you can see the visceral pleural margin. So here, so the lucency will be devoid of the vasculature. The visceral pleura can be traced, and there is a mediastinal shift, and the bronchovascular markings will not extend to the peripheries. And the important thing is this pneumothorax might not cause a breathlessness. If it is a tension pneumothorax, then the whole of the lung will be collapsed, and there will be shift of mediastinum. The patient will present with breathlessness, which may need a needle tracheostomy. So next picture is, so this is a COPD picture. So here we can see both the costophrenic angles are blunted, and there will be flattening of the diaphragm. So the flattening of the diaphragm may be due to the lung hyperexpansion. So there will be a constant hyperexpansion, which will lead to flattening of the diaphragm, and the costophrenic angles may be blunted. So this is a bronchiectatic picture. The bronchiectatic picture because of there are some 4 types of bronchiectasis where there may be cystic bronchiectasis, varicose bronchiectasis, and in cystic bronchiectasis, we may be able to see the air fluid levels within the alveoli, which may not be well appreciated in the X-ray film, but it will be clearly seen in the CT picture. So HRCT may be the diagnosis in bronchiectasis, but an X-ray might give a clue because of the thickened bronchial walls, which may give a tram-line appearance. So this is the picture of ARDS. See, ARDS actually it is a non-specific feature in the X-ray. ARDS will actually present like an pulmonary edema, but we should go by the diagnosis. During the acute phase, there will be inflammation and fluid filling in the alveoli, and in the X-ray, there may be bilateral symmetrical infiltrates, and there will be no cardiomegaly. See, if you see, there will be no cardiomegaly. This will be the differentiating feature from the pulmonary edema. So this is another picture of pulmonary edema. So you can see there will be, see, this is a late stage of ARDS. So there is a bilateral symmetrical opacity, and in X-ray, in CT also, we have opacities in both the lungs. And this is the pulmonary edema. This is a old film. See, if possible, we always compare the present X-ray with an old film to have a diagnosis. So this patient has got operated very recently. So we are able to see the sternal bias, and there is a cardiomegaly, and because of the interstitial edema, we are able to see the opacities in both the sides, and there is a hilar opacity because of the enlarged pulmonary venous pressure. So this gives a bat wing appearance. This gives a bat wing appearance, and there may be curly B lines if the pulmonary venous pressure is low. So this is a typical X-ray picture in mitral stenosis because of increase in the, there will be straightening of the left heart border because of the enlarged increase in the pulmonary pressures, and the atrial appendage, main pulmonary artery, and the left atrium will all be enlarged, and there will be a straightening of the left heart border. If the left atrium is enlarged, then it may be seen behind the right atrium as a double contour sign. So this is another interesting picture. There is a foreign body in the right main bronchus. See, this picture is very important because there is a collapse in the lower lobe, and there is hyperinflation in the upper lobe. So there is hyperinflation in the upper lobe because of the ball valve or the check valve mechanism, which causes an obstruction to the expiration. Because of the obstruction to the expiration, the upper lobe gets hyperexpanded, but because of the complete obstruction of the lower lobe, there is collapse in the lower lobe. So this is a picture of a pericardial effusion. You can see a grossly enlarged heart with obliteration of the heart borders, and this may be clinically associated with muffled heart sounds, low voltage complex, and in the ECG. So this is a thyroid mass. You can see the thyroid mass with deviation of the trachea to the other side. So we can see the soft tissue mass in the neck area, and this has pushed the trachea to the right side. So here, this is a picture of the rib fracture, where you can appreciate the fracture of ribs in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. These multiple rib fractures can cause flail chest, and the patient is already intubated. And this picture also fine. So this is a pediatric picture where we can see the abdomen also. So this is a picture of the congenital diaphragmatic hernia. There is an indistinct diaphragm with all the bowels in the hemithorax. So there may be air fluid level in the hemithorax, which may indicate multiple bowel in the thorax. So the mediastinum might be pushed. So we can see the intubated patient. So